And continuing with Kaa's hunting from the Jungle Books, Mowgli is in the Monkey City. Bagheera and Kaa have tracked him there. Baloo is not as fast as Bagheera and Kaa, so he is not there yet, which is too bad because since Bagheera and Kaa have to fight their way through the monkeys, it's 101 odds. Bagheera has been swarmed by monkeys, and Mowgli has been grabbed and thrown into a 15-foot hole, which he was able to land on his feet from the fall, and that's where we pick up. "Stay there," shouted the monkeys, "till we have killed thy friends, and later we will play with thee, if the poison people leave thee alive." "We be of the same blood, you and I," said Mowgli, quickly giving the snake's call. He could hear rustling and hissing in the rubbish all round him, and gave the call a second time to make sure. "Even so, downwards all," said half a dozen low voices. Every ruin in India becomes sooner or later a dwelling place for snakes, and the old summer house was alive with cobras. "Stand still, little brother, for thy feet may do us harm." Mowgli stood as quietly as he could, peering through the open work and listening to the furious din of the fight round the Black Panther, the yells, the chatterings and scufflings, and Bagheera's deep, hoarse cough as he backed and bucked and twisted and plunged under the heaps of his enemies. For the first time since he was born, Bagheera was fighting for his life. Baloo must be at hand. Bagheera would not have come alone, Mowgli thought, and then he called aloud, "To the tank, Bagheera! Roll to the water tanks!" "Roll and plunge! Get to the water!" Bagheera heard, and the cry that told him Mowgli was safe gave him new courage. He worked his way desperately, inch by inch, straight for the reservoirs, hitting in silence. Then, from the ruined wall nearest the jungle, rose up the rumbling war shout of Baloo. The old bear had done his best, but he could not come before. "Bagheera!" he shouted, "I am here. I climb. I haste. Awara! The stones slip under my feet. Wait my coming. O most infamous Banderlog!" He panted up the terrace, only to disappear to the head of a wave of monkeys, but he threw himself squarely on his haunches and, spreading out his forepaws, hugged as many as he could hold, and then began to hit with a regular bat, 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 like the flapping strokes of a paddle wheel. A crash and a splash told Mowgli that Bagheera had fought his way to the tank where the monkeys could not follow. The panther lay gasping for breath, his head just out of water, while the monkeys stood 3 deep on the red steps, dancing him up and down with rage, ready to spin upon him from all sides if he came out to help Baloo. It was then that Bagheera lifted up his dripping chin and in despair gave the snake's call for protection. "We be of one blood, ye and I," for he believed that Kaa had turned tail at the last minute. Even Baloo, half smothered under the monkeys on the edge of the terrace, could not help chuckling as he heard the Black Panther asking for help. Kaa had only just worked his way over the west wall, landing with a wrench that dislodged a coping stone into a ditch. He had no intention of losing any advantage of the ground, and coiled and uncoiled himself once or twice, to be sure that every foot of his long body was in working order. All that while the fight with Baloo went on, and the monkeys yelled in the tank round Bagheera, and Mang the bat, flying to and fro, carried the news of the great battle over the jungle, till even Hati the wild elephant trumpeted. And far away, scattered bands of the monkey folk woke and came leaping along the tree roads to help their comrades in the cold lairs, and the noise of the fight roused all the day birds from miles around. Then Kaa came straight, quickly and anxious to kill. The fighting strength of a python is in the driving blow of its head, backed by all the strength and weight of its body. If you can imagine a lance or a battering ram or a hammer weighing nearly half a ton, driven by a cool, quiet mind living in the handle of it, you can roughly imagine what Kaa was like when he fought. A python 4 or 5 feet long can knock a man down if he hits him fairly in the chest, and Kaa was 30 feet long, as you know. His first stroke was delivered into the heart of the crowd round Baloo, was sent home with shut mouth and silence, and there was no need of a second. The monkeys scattered with cries of, "Kaa! It is Kaa! Run! Run!" Generations of monkeys had been scared into good behavior by the stories their elders had told them of Kaa, the night thief who could slip along the branches as quietly as moss grass and steal away the strongest monkey that ever lived. of old Ka, who could make himself look so like a dead branch in a rotten stump that the wisest were deceived, till the branch caught them. Ka was everything that the monkeys feared in the jungle, for none of them knew the limits of his power. None of them could look him in the face, and none had ever come alive out of his hug. And so they ran, stammering with terror, to the walls and the roofs of the houses, and Baloo drew a deep breath of relief. His fur was much thicker than Bagheera's, but he had suffered sorely in the fight. Then Ka opened his mouth for the first time and spoke one long hissing word, and the far-away monkeys, hurrying to the defense of the cold lairs, stayed where they were, cowering till the loaded branches bent and crackled under them. The monkeys on the walls and the empty houses stopped their cries, and in the stillness they fell upon the city. Mowgli heard Bagheera shaking his wet sides as he came up from the tank. Then the clamor broke out again. The monkeys leaped higher up the walls. They clung round the necks of the big stone idols and shrieked as they skipped along the battlements, while Mowgli danced in the summer house, put his eye to the screen work, and hooted owl fashion between his front teeth to show his derision and contempt. "Get the man-cub out of that trap. I can do no more," Bagheera gasped. "Let us take the man-cub and go. They may attack again." "They will not move till I order them. Stay you so," Ka hissed, and the city was silent once more. "I could not come before, brother, but I think I heard thee call." This was to Bagheera. "I may have cried out in the battle," Bagheera answered. "Baloo, art thou hurt?" "I am not sure that they have not pulled me into 100 little bearlings," said Baloo gravely, shaking one leg after the other. "Well, I'm sore. Ka, we owe thee, I think, our lives, Bagheera and I." "No matter. Where is the manling?" "Here in a trap. I cannot climb out," cried Mowgli. The curve of the broken dome was above his head. "Take him away. He dances like Mao the peacock. He will crush our young," said the cobras inside. "Ha!" said Ka with a chuckle. "He has friends everywhere, this manling. Stand back, manling, and hide you, O poison people. I will break down the wall." Ka looked carefully till he found a discolored crack in the marble tracery, showing a weak spot, made 2 or 3 light taps with his head to get the distance, and then, lifting up 6 feet of his body clear of the ground, sent home 6 full-power smashing blows, nose first. The screenwork broke and fell away in a cloud of dust and rubble, and Mowgli leaped through the opening and flung himself between Baloo and Bagheera, an arm round each big neck. "Art thou hurt?" said Baloo, hugging him softly. "I am sore, hungry, and not a little bruised, but oh, they have handled ye grievously, my brothers. Ye bleed." "Others also," said Bagheera, licking his lips and looking at the monkey dead on the terrace and round the tank. It is nothing, if thou art safe, O my pride of all little frogs," whimpered Baloo. "Of that we shall judge later," said Bagheera in a dry voice that Mowgli did not like at all. "But here is Ka, to whom we owe the battle, and thou owest thy life. Thank him according to our customs, Mowgli." Mowgli turned and saw the great python's head swaying a foot above his own. "So this is the manling," said Ka. "Very soft is his skin, and he is not so unlike the Bandarlog. Have a care, manling, that I do not mistake thee for a monkey some twilight when I have newly changed my coat." "We are of one blood, thou and I," Mowgli answered. "I take my life from thee tonight. My kill shall be thy kill, if ever thou art hungry, O Ka." "Oh, thanks, little brother," said Ka, though his eyes twinkled. And what may so bold a hunter kill, I ask, that I may follow when next he goes abroad? I kill nothing. I am too little, but I drive goats towards such as can use them. When thou art empty, come to me, and see if I speak the truth. I have some skill in these." He held out his hands. "And if ever thou art in a trap, I may pay the debt which I owe thee, to Bagheera and to Baloo here. Good hunting to ye, all my masters." "Well said," growled Baloo. For Mowgli had returned thanks very prettily. The python dropped his head, lightly for a moment on Mowgli's shoulder. "A brave heart and a courteous tongue," said he. "They shall carry thee far through the jungle, manling. But now go hence quickly with thy friends. Go and sleep, for the moon sets, and what follows is not well that thou shouldst see." The moon was sinking beneath the hills, and the lines of trembling monkeys huddled together on the walls and battlements looked like ragged, shaky fringes of things. Baloo went down to the tank for a drink, and Bagheera began to put his fur in order as Kaa glided out into the center of the terrace and brought his jaws together with a ringing snap that drew all the monkeys' eyes upon him. The moon sets," he said. "Is there yet light to see?" From the walls came a moan like the wind in the treetops. "We see, O Kaa." "Good. Begins now. The dance of the hunger of Kaa. Sit still and watch." He turned twice or thrice in a big circle, weaving his head from right to left. Then he began making loops and figures of 8 with his body, and soft, oozy triangles that melted into squares, and 5-sided figures and coiled mounds, never resting, never hurrying, and never stopping his low humming song. It grew darker and darker, till at last the dragging, shifting coils disappeared, but they could hear the rustle of the scales. Baloo and Bagheera stood still as stone, growling in their throats, their neck hair bristling, and Mowgli watched and wondered. "Bandar-log," said the voice of Kaa at last, "can ye stir foot or hand without my order? Speak." "Without thy order we cannot stir foot or hand, O Kaa." "Good. Come all one pace closer to me." The lines of the monkeys swayed forward helplessly, and Baloo and Bagheera took one stiff step forward with them. "Closer!" hissed Kaa, and they all moved again. Mowgli laid his hands on Baloo and Bagheera to get them away, and the two great beasts started as though they had been waked from a dream. "Keep thy hand on my shoulder," Bagheera whispered. "Keep it there, or I must go back. Must go back to Kaa." "Ah!" "It is only Kaa making circles in the dust," said Mowgli. "Let us go." And the three slipped off through a gap in the walls of the jungle. "Woof!" said Baloo, when he stood under the still trees again. "Never more will I make an ally of Kaa." And he shook himself all over. "He knows more than we," said Bagheera, trembling. "In a little time, had I stayed, I should have walked down his throat." "Many will walk by that road before the moon rises again," said Baloo. "He will have good hunting after his own fashion." "But what was the meaning of it all?" said Mowgli, who did not know anything of a python's powers of fascination. "I saw him no more than a big snake making foolish circles till the dark came, and his nose was all sore. Ho ho!" "Mowgli," said Bagheera angrily, "his nose was sore on thy account, as my ears and sides and paws and Baloo's neck and shoulders are bitten on thy account. Neither Baloo nor Bagheera will be able to hunt with pleasure for many days." "It is nothing," said Baloo. "We have the man-cub again." "True, but he has cost us heavily in time, which might have been spent in good hunting, in wounds, in hair. I am half plucked along my back. And last of all, in honor. For remember, Mowgli, I, who am the Black Panther, was forced to call upon Kaa for protection, and Baloo and I were both made stupid as little birds by the hunger dance. All this, man-cub, because of thy playing with the Bandar-log." "True, it is true," said Mowgli sorrowfully. "I am an evil man-cub, and my stomach is sad in me." What says the law of the jungle, Baloo?" Baloo did not wish to bring Mowgli into any more trouble, but he could not tamper with the law, so he mumbled, "Sorrow never stays punishment, but remember, Bagheera, he is very little." "I will remember, but he has done mischief, and blows must be dealt now. Mowgli, hast thou anything to say?" "Nothing. I did wrong, Baloo, and thou art wounded. It is just," and we will pause there.